Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel Bookalicious, where we talk all things books. I'm so excited for today's video. We're doing kind of like a 24-hour readathon, but I already read all these books, so you're not going to be watching me read each book in real time because I was very forgetful and silly like I typically am, and I forgot to film myself doing the 24-hour readathon while I was doing the 24-hour readathon, if that makes any sense. But I am just going to be recapping each book that I read, letting you know like how long it took me to basically read each book, because I did try and keep track of like my time with each book, and I will be letting you know which books I think you would like to read if you're going to do a 24-hour readathon. Some of these books are very amazing, some of them are not that good, and some of them put me in a little bit of a reading slump. But we're going to talk about all of these books, so let's get right into the video. The first book I read was Check and Mate by Miss Ali Hazelwood, and this is my second Ali Hazelwood book. The first book that I read by her was The Love Hypothesis, which is her most loved, her most popular book, and I enjoyed The Love Hypothesis. It was a little overhyped for me, but it was still cute. I gave it like 4 stars when I read it, so it was good. And with this book, I didn't know what to expect because it had been so long since I read an Ali Hazelwood book, so I didn't know if I was still gonna like her writing style or like the way that she does romance or main characters. But this book, let me tell you a little bit about it. This book follows Mallory Greenleaf, and she's our main character, and she used to be amazing at playing chess, but something happened in her family, and ever since that happened, she has stopped playing chess. She doesn't want anything to do with it until she ends up getting pulled back into it for a little charity tournament, and she ends up meeting another amazing chess player named Nolan, and they're kind of these rivals in this chess competition, and their paths keep crossing, and there might be something there between them. So this book is basically rivals to lovers, forced proximity, like not right away, but like closer to the end of the book, which is actually one of my critiques. So let's just get right into what I thought about this book. Or first, let's talk about how long it took me to read it. I'm gonna check my notes because I tried to keep track of like how long it took me to read each book. So let's see. Check and Mate. It took me about 5 hours and 30 minutes to read this book, which is not bad because this is like 347 pages. So that's not terrible. I did read it in a day. And it was very quick to get through. Like the plot was good. Like the plot kept me interested because obviously I wanted to see like if she was going to win the tournament, how she was going to fall back in love with chess, and obviously I wanted to see the romance develop between Mallory and Nolan. And one of my critiques about this book is that Nolan wasn't in here nearly as much as he should have been. Like, he's the love interest, and it's okay, but I don't get his POV. That's okay, because sometimes I actually like romance books when it's just the girl's POV and you have to kind of guess and think about what the guy is actually thinking. So I didn't even need his POV. I just needed him to be in the book more. He pops up a little bit in like the first 100 pages, but then you kind of have to wait for him to keep showing up. He is in the book a lot once you hit like the 200-page mark, but I still would have liked to have had more moments between him and Mallory, and I don't know if I would classify this as a rom-com. I would say that it felt like a contemporary, am I saying that right? Contemporary, there we go. Contemporary YA book where it felt like a character study on Mallory because she's dealing with so much. It's not just about her falling in love. She's dealing with helping out her family. She has 2 sisters who I really did not like. Sabrina and Darcy. I thought they were just brats. I really did not like her sisters. But she's doing a lot for her family, and she has like a friendship that's kind of crumbling as well. Like there's a lot of things that she's dealing with. So it didn't feel like a cutesy little rom-com, which the cover is giving those vibes. It is a romance, but it's just not as romantic as I would have liked. And I would have liked Nolan to have showed up more in the book. But it was okay. I gave this book 3 stars overall. And I do want to address the slight controversy between like the age rating. This is a YA book. I would say so because there's no spice in this. But I will say that, when they do what they do, you know that they've done it because it's talked about. I would say it's closed door where you know what they're about to do, but the chapter ends before you have to read about any explicit details. But I would say, since this doesn't have spice, I would say that this is YA. But I personally believe that there are like different levels to a book being YA. I would say that like there's like the 13 to 15 and then there's 16 to 18. So I would put this in like the 16 to 18 level of YA. I would not let a 13-year-old read this because there's a lot of discussion about spiciness, and there's a lot of swearing in this book as well. So I wouldn't personally recommend this book to like a 12-year-old or 13-year-old, because sometimes 12-year-olds do read YA books, even though they probably shouldn't, but sometimes they do. So I wouldn't let this book near them, but I would say that like even 15 and up, or 16 and up, or whatever. But there's no spice in this book, but it is talked about a lot. But this is it was a cute read. It was quick. It was fast paced. I just wish that it had been more romantic, and this is one of those books that I don't think about. Like as soon as I like read the last page, I was just like, okay, let's move on to the next one. Like this isn't something that I'm going to be thinking about a lot. It was a little bit boring at times, and again, the romance was just not something that I was obsessed with. But I'm happy that I finally read it, and this cover is so beautiful. I am obsessed with this cover. Obsessed. So I'm happy I read it, if just to own this book, because the cover is so, so cute. This Time It's Real by Anne Liang. And if you've been around in my channel, you may have heard me talk about another book that she wrote, which is called I Hope This Doesn't Find You. I'll pop a picture up of that book. And I love that book. It is a whopping 5-star read for me. Like that is one of my favorite books of the year. I love it so much. So I already knew that I loved her writing style. I love her books. I love the Asian representation in her books because she does talk a lot about the culture of these characters, and I love that so much. I just love the way that she writes her main characters. I just love it so much. And I think that all of her like plots for these books are just so good. So this is about a young girl named Eliza I can't talk. This book is about a young girl named Eliza, and she's never been in a relationship ever, but she writes this amazing essay about meeting the love of her life, and it goes viral. She did not expect this, and her life just changes drastically, and she realizes that she needs help to keep this lie going. And so she enlists the help of one of her classmates named Kaz, who is a up-and-coming actor. He does a lot of K-dramas, and he's very popular. And so she strikes a deal with him that she'll help him get his grades up if he pretends to be madly in love with her and pretends to be her boyfriend. And so, of course, this is fake dating. Real feelings start to happen between them. And I just love this book so much. It was just so perfectly adorable. It was the definition of a rom-com. It was just so lovely and sweet and wholesome. And I love that the main character, she's interesting when she's on her own, but then when her and Kaz have moments in this book, it just lights up the page, and their chemistry is so, so good and just written so well. I love the fake dating trope so much. Enemies to lovers is gonna be my favorite trope until I die, but fake dating is a close second. Enemies to lovers and fake dating as a combination is the best. But that they weren't enemies, it was kind of just like an opposites attract kind of thing. And then obviously the one of us is famous trope since he's a famous up and coming actor. But this book was just amazing. It was really easy to get through. Let's check and see how long it took me to read it. It took me about 4 hours and 10 minutes to get through this book. And I just had a blast. I would totally recommend it to you. It wasn't quite a 5-star read. I gave it 4.75 stars, which is still obviously an amazing rating, and I just love this book so much, but it wasn't quite giving like the 5-star vibes. I didn't love them as much as I loved the other couple in I Hope This Doesn't Find You, but this was still such a beautiful, beautiful romance book, and I couldn't recommend it enough. Then I read Powerful by Lauren Roberts. This was an interesting book for me to step into because I didn't even know if I was going to want to continue with this series because I read Powerless last year in December and I wanted to love that book so much. Do you know when you want to love a book so much because everybody else loves it, and when you don't love it, it hurts. It physically hurts. And I was so disappointed that I didn't enjoy Powerless. It wasn't like the worst book I'd read in my entire life. I gave it 2.75 stars, which isn't terrible, but it's not great either because everybody else was giving it 4.5 stars, 5 stars, 6 stars, and I was just feeling very lackluster about that book, and I didn't even think I was going to continue with the series, but I saw this cute little novella. It's super short. The print is pretty big and easy to get through, so I was like, let's just read it. Let's just see. I might like the writing style more. Let's just see. And so I read this, and this is about Adina, who is the main character from Powerless's best friend. And Adina she's such a sweetheart. She's very kind and kind of quiet and not as fierce per se as Peyton, but she's still such a strong character with a lot of determination. And this is just about her story while Peyton was in the trials and Powerless, and this is just about Adina trying to survive, and she crosses paths with someone else who has a loved one who is going through the trials, and so they form a connection and begin to form this plan to get into the palace. This was a very good novella. It was a powerful novella. It really was. And I just enjoyed the writing style so much more, and I found it to be so much more fast paced because obviously this is a very short novella. This is about, how long are you? It's about 245 pages, but the print is pretty big in this book and the chapters are pretty short. So it's a very tiny book, and I loved the grumpy sunshine dynamic between Adina and Mac so much. It was written so well, and I just really loved Adina as a character. I found her to be more relatable than Peyton because I love my strong, fierce FMCs, but I'm not like that. I'm not like that. So I do find characters like Adina to be more relatable. And I just really liked her love story with Mac. I think this was a really cute book, and it made me want to read Reckless, which I didn't want to before. So now I have Reckless. I own Reckless, and Reckless is actually on my September TBR now. So it's crazy, but yeah, this is really good. I gave it 4.25 stars, and I think it took me about an hour and 55 minutes to get through this book. But yeah, couldn't recommend it enough. Very great novella. One of my favorite novellas that I've ever read. Really loved it. Next book I read was The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther. I hope I'm saying that right. And I believe that this is her most popular book that she's published. I know that she's published like a lot of other ones, but I think this is the one that people talk about the most. And this was super, super fun, and it's giving just all the best summer energy, of course. I really enjoyed this book. It follows our main character named Meredith Fox, and she's going through a very hard time because she recently lost her sister Claire, and she has been shutting out all of her friends, a lot of her like extended family members, and she's just been grieving a lot, of course. and her relationship with her boyfriend has also kind of come to an end. And her cousin is actually getting married, so her and her family are going to the wedding. And there's also this fun family game of Assassin that they're playing in honor of Meredith's sister who passed away, who really loved the game. So that's all going on. This book doesn't necessarily have like a big plot, but it's just like vibes, just really amazing summer vibes, and talks a lot about grief as well, which I appreciated because I liked to have that emotional depth to our character Meredith. And I've heard some people say that they found Meredith to be irritating. I didn't find her to be irritating. I think that she was like an understandable character because she's going through so much. And even though she did shut people out when she probably could have gone about that a different way, I understood why she did it. And I really liked the romance between her and the groomsmen. I will say that I was skeptical at first because it felt like insta love, and I hate insta love. I hate insta love so much. I will take any trope except insta love. I'll take bully romance instead of insta love. But it was more so like an insta connection. Like they instantly liked each other, instantly had like a good banter going on between them. And normally I don't like that, but I think it was perfect for this book, the perfect choice for this book, because there's no like concrete plot going on. So it made sense that Meredith was just going with the flow and that the romance was just very easy and breezy and just organically just happened without there being any like enemies to lovers or even friends to lovers. Like it just felt very just quick, but it felt right for this book. And I just really enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I would totally recommend it to you, even if you read it and it's not in the summertime. It's still just such a fun book. And I think it took me about 5 hours and 45 minutes to get through this, and this is 359 pages, so that's not that bad. Yeah, this was a good book. The next book I read was Tweet Cute by Emma Lord, and oh my lord, I did not like this book. This put me in one of the worst reading slumps ever. I have not read much books this month, and I credit that to this book because it just put me off reading, and duh. But basically, what is this even about? It's about this girl named Pepper, who's our main character. She's a swim team captain. She's one of those overachiever types, and she's a perfectionist. And then there's Jack, who's known as the class clown, and him and Pepper don't really get along because they're just so different. And they're also running their family's Twitter accounts, and both their families own like these type of restaurant businesses, and so Pepper and Jack's families are kind of like competing against each other, which means that Pepper and Jack are competing against each other with their Twitter accounts. And they don't know that what am I saying? What is this book about? Pepper and Jack are also talking to each other on this special app for school classmates to talk to each other without knowing who each other are. And so Pepper and Jack don't know that they're talking to each other, but then they're falling for each other as well. This book says that not the book, but the synopsis basically says that this is Gossip Girl meets Mean Girls mixed with To All the Boys and You've Got Mail. So it's basically telling you that this book is a combination of like a bunch of great stuff. I mean, Gossip Girl gave me a headache because that show was insane, but Mean Girls, To All the Boys, and You've Got Mail, great stuff. This book, I don't want to be mean, but it's not like Emma Lord's ever gonna watch this video, and I'm sure that she's a sweetheart, and I'm sure that, she's written tons of other books that maybe I would enjoy, and I know that a lot of people probably love this book so much, which I understand. I just couldn't get into it. Like, the characters, I don't know, they were just really bland. Like, do you know when you eat something and you just can't like it because it's not even that it tastes bad, it's just that it tastes like nothing. That was what this book was to me. I actually gave this book 2 stars, because I have read worse books than this, worse romance books. Um, that I'll put up a couple examples up here of what I'm talking about. But yeah, I've read worse, but if I hadn't, then I would have given this like 1.5 stars or something. But it was just really a challenge to get through because I didn't care about the characters. The romance had no sparkle, like there was no like spark, no chemistry, and it was just so boring. The side characters were boring. I can't even tell you like any side character's name in this book. And it was just really sad because I'd been wanting to read this book for like years. Like literally for the longest time I was like, I'm gonna buy this book, I'm gonna buy this book. And then I eventually buy it and it's such a disappointment. I could not recommend this to you unless you just love YA romance like me. So if you are also a big consumer of YA romance, then give it a go. You might like it. It's kind of like described as like a modern day Romeo Juliet because both their families are like competing and whatever and don't like each other. Let's take a moment to appreciate the cover. I think the cover probably gave this book an extra star. The cover is really, really cute. I really like the cover. YA romance books always have great cover designs. But yeah, could not recommend this book to you unless if I didn't like you, then I would be like, hey, you want to read this book? But I do like all of you. I love all of you. So I'm not going to recommend that you read this book. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Tweet Cute. You want to know what's really sad is that around the time I was reading this book, I accidentally deleted my 24-hour readathon countdown. So I like forgot where I was at. I knew I was at around like the 8 hour mark where I basically had like 8 hours left, but I basically like deleted that. So I don't know exactly what time it took me to read this entire book, but I'm gonna say it took me about 6 hours and 20 minutes if I'm correct. But yeah, it took me a little while to get through this book. But yeah, it was just not it. It was not demure. It was not mindful. It was not cutesy. Next book that we are going to be discussing is a book that I read on my Kindle app. So I'm going to pop that picture up on the screen. I read The Age of Fire, Rise of Warriors by Eden Ross. And this is a debut book from her. And she is 16. She's published a book. I'm 20 years old and I've done nothing. So she's amazing. And she also had like a job and school and publishing a book at the same time. It's just incredible. So the synopsis about this is that this is set in a world that's been cursed with a 40-year-long war, and it's because of a lot of selfish actions from the leaders of this world, and a lot of these young children are watching their families die, and then they're being left to be turned into soldiers for all of these different opposing armies. And this book basically has a lot of found family, and you're following the POVs of a bunch of different characters, and their paths tend to cross. And it's just a really big found family book. There's dragons in this as well, so if you love dragons, then you would love this book. I gave this 3 stars. It was not a bad book at all, and I think it's a very strong debut book. Will I be continuing with the series? I don't know because I wasn't super invested, but I'm gonna say this. I think this book is perfect for like 10 and up. It's not like super duper young, but I don't think it's like a YA book, if that makes sense. Definitely not like an upper YA book. But if you're looking for something that's really wholesome, but yet adventurous and cool for like a 10-year-old, like if you have like a sibling or whatever, and you want to get them into books with dragons and fantasy and found family and stuff, then I think that they would love this book so much. I think it was a little bit young for me. Just yeah, it just wasn't like something that I was super invested in, but it wasn't a bad book. The writing wasn't bad or anything like that. I was just not as invested. And to be fair, I read this after Tweet Cute, so I wasn't like in a really happy reading mood. But again, I think, yeah, I think if you have like someone in your family who reads middle grade or someone who's starting to read young adult, then I think this would be a great recommendation to them. Or even if you just really love wholesome, sweet, um, fantasy books and you love dragons, then I think you would enjoy this as well. But I think this is a very strong debut from Eden Ross, and I think she has a really good writing style. Now I only had like a couple hours left, so I knew that there was going to be no way for me to read another book unless I reread like a really short book. So I was considering doing a reread of The Little Prince, which is one of my favorite classic books. It's such a beautiful book, but I wanted to save that for like November or October when we're in like the really chilly fall months. Do you see my outfit? I am ready for autumn. I am ready for summer to be over. I hate summer so much. But in any case, I decided to not start a new book, but to continue a book that I was in the middle of to just try and finish the time. So I decided to just continue reading Glow by Raven Kennedy. This is the fourth book in the Plated Prisoner series. And so I used the couple hours I had left to just make some progress with that book. And I have finished it by the time I'm filming this video. And it was really good. I love the Plated Prisoner series. If you've seen some of my reading recap videos, then you would know, but I am obsessed with the Plated Prisoner series. It is the best thing to come out of this year for me. I love that series so much. The first three books were 6-star reads for me. This book was a 4.75, which is a little bit of a step down, but it was still so close to being perfect. It was just really different. There's like a shift in the series now, and I don't know if I'm loving that, but it was still really fun and adventurous, and I love the main couple so much. I love the found family, I love the side characters, I love like the magic system and the world, and I love how it's not super duper complicated to understand the magic system for these characters as well. But yeah, it was okay. It was more of an, but yeah, this was a good book. It really was. It just wasn't as good as Gild, Glint, and Gleam, but it was still really good. I love this series, and I believe I have two books left. The last book in the series, Goldfinch, is coming out in September, and I'm not ready for this series to be over. I'm just gonna miss it so much. But yeah, I had so much fun reading Glow, and I can't wait to see what happens next. So very happy that I was able to use the last couple of hours in my readathon to finish out Glow. Here's a little stack of all the books, physical books, all the physical books that I read in the 24-hour readathon, and I love, look at the colors, look at the pink spines, so pretty. But I had so much fun with this 24-hour readathon. I was basically just reading like a book every single day or two books in a day, and that feels so good and satisfying as a reader. And I'm a super slow reader, like I'm so slow, and this month I've been in a really big reading slump. Thank you, Tweet Cute, thank you for that. But yeah, I had so much fun with this, and I totally want to do another one super soon. Maybe I should do like a 48-hour readathon and actually film myself while I'm doing that, and so I can give my thoughts on each book in real time. I think that would be much better. And let me know what books you would like to see me read in a 24-hour readathon or a 48-hour readathon. Let me know some book recommendations that you have for me, and let me know if any of these books are going to go on your TBR. If I had to recommend some, I would recommend Powerful, even though you have to read Powerless first. You have to. But you would probably, I think the majority of people love Powerless, so you might love Powerless. I just didn't, but the novella is so good. And then Summer of Broken Rules, 4.5 stars. Totally recommend this one. And then I totally recommend This Time It's Real. And I also recommend her other book, I Hope This Doesn't Find You. And yeah, I think these ones are like, I think these were like my favorite books out of the entire readathon. And Glow, of course. But yeah, these books were just so good. So very happy that I was able to tackle a lot of these books that have been on my TBR for so long. But I love all of you guys so much. Thank you for clicking on this video. Thank you for sticking around and watching me ramble about books, which is something that I love to do. And please make sure to like and comment and share and subscribe. And I will see you all very soon in a new video, probably either my August wrap up, which is going to be very short because I barely read any books this month, um, or it's going to be my September TBR video, one of those. And I also have to work on another video where I share if certain book talk books are worth the hype or not. So a lot of good ideas. I also want to do a video where I share some like fall book recommendations and books that I want to read for fall, because I'm planning to have a very demure and very mindful and very cutesy fall, as you can see. So a lot of fun video ideas coming up. But I love you all so, so much, and I will see you very soon. Happy reading to all of you. Mwah.